Ma'am, kindly enable me to share the screen, ma'am.
Yes, Urbee, now you can share your screen and speak.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to all of you. Is my screen visible to all of you? Kindly reply.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to all of you. My today's presentation topic will be pandemic and mental well-being. So I'm quickly moving into the session. Let us look at the new terms, the terms which were quite new to most of us, especially common men like me. Quarantined, isolation, hoarding, lockdown, social distancing, new normal, immunity, vaccination. These were quite a few new terms which we were not acquainted with prior to the pandemic situation, which we were acquainted with during the pandemic situation. Whenever I think of isolation, I mean, in front of my eyes, the slides of the Hirok Raja Deshe, where all the dwellers of a village were isolated in a camp, it floats in front of my eyes. So that was all I knew about isolation, nothing more. Now I come to the words in red ink: interpersonal conflict, domestic violence, interpersonal violence, interpersonal friction, existential fear, and such. Existential fear, apprehensive mourning, and selfishness. I will be coming to all of these terms one by one. Let me come to the next slide. So what was the reason? What is the reason? In the previous slide I have shown the causes and the outcomes of the anxiety. But what gave rise to anxiety? Now we will come to it. What is anxiety? Anxiety is actually something that helps us lead a balanced life. It facilitates our survival. So in a flow chart I have tried to display the pictorial representation of what anxiety could be. Emergency leads to human body being alarmed, and after the human body is alarmed, it responds accordingly. So it is basically a stimulus response theory. The response depends on what the stimulus is. The pictorial representation down is all about the pictorial representation down is about a caveman who is trying to fly away, or who is trying to avoid the carnivorous animal, the lion. So it depends on the stimulus how we will respond. In this particular example, the stimulus is a carnivorous animal, and for an omnivorous animal like human being, it is not possible for him to fight back the animal. So over here he has chosen flight. But had it been a school exam, a person, an examinee entering the examination theater and getting the answer, the question sheet, he finds that all the answers are unknown to him. So there he has an option to choose whether fight or flight. He can fight, he can write commonsensical answers to make the examiner understand that yes, I have a commonsensical knowledge about what, say for example, growth and development is. I may have forgotten the definition of growth and development by Who or by Crow and Crow, but I remember the commonsensical knowledge is there in me, what growth and development are distinctly. So I can write that. Or he can dramatize and he can flee. So he can choose for both, for any one of fight or flight. Next, I would want to come to the next slide. COVID-19 in a nutshell from the eyes of a common person. A death which had no respite, no closure, no empathy, no condolence, no respite. The moment we heard that some of our near and dear ones has passed away, we ran for RT-PCR test. We had no respite, no time to console also, no time to condolence also, no time for condolence also, because there were deaths in all corners and crevices of the country, of the world. No closure. এই মৃত্যুর কোনো শ্মশান বন্ধু ছিল না. No empathy. Next, death of our near and dear ones pressed us to run to RT-PCR tests. People even couldn't run to their dead parents to mourn. Neighbors are chanting our names. Apni bachle omuke naam. Neighbors are chanting our names. The moment we learn about the death of a neighbor, we start calculating who else of his or her family we had met last. The moment we learn about some neighbor of us getting affected, we start back calculating. We start calculating in our mind, and automatically we respond by saying, আচ্ছা তোর বাড়িতে আর কার কার হয়েছে রে? To calculate, back calculation শুরু হয়ে গেছে যে last whom I met of their family, and palpitating that whether I am corona positive or not. Next, having asked all our domestic hands to discontinue for the time being, in spite of being uncertain about when to ask them to rejoin, we never thought of paying them wages. Neither did we bother to inquire about them and their family. Suddenly we had heard that do not allow people from outside because they are carrying the virus. So we had asked all our helping hands to stop coming, to stop approaching us. But we never thought about their wellness. We never thought that how would their families run without the wages. Next, আমরা ভীষণ স্বার্থপর হয়ে গেলাম. We started being self-centered. We started hoarding things, never thought of our hands also. We bought 4 sacks of rice and hoarded it in our house. We never thought of our hands and never bothered to drop 2 in front of their doorstep. Next, lack of commuting led to physical distancing. Children, that means offsprings, in foreign countries could not reach their aged and sickening parents due to transportation costs. All international flights were cancelled. Since all international flights were cancelled, there was lack of commuting, and offspring from outer states and outer countries, other continents, could not reach out their parents even when one of the parents have gone. They were not able to come to console with the other parent. Last, self-distrust. This was with health workers at various levels who feared approaching their parents, their children, their family members because they were not sure whether they were COVID positive or not. Next, we started oversimplifying male members doing house chores. Whenever a male member enters a kitchen, we started oversimplifying that. And for women, what happened? Everything became doubled. They worked from home, they worked at home, and there was no sympathy. Neither did they want sympathy, they wanted empathy. Neither that was there. Next was lack of privacy. It became all the more difficult for youngsters and children. All those who could pay hindrance to our privacy were at home. One even couldn't think of smoking in his own room. All the people whose encounters who we do not like were all present at home since it was lockdown. Next, interpersonal conflicts. Lockdown made many couples realize that nothing actually existed in between. This gave birth to interpersonal frictions, which in turn became the cause of interpersonal violence, an outcome of which was domestic violence, and numbers of divorce cases filed increased like anything. Next, all these which I have elaborated and elucidated till now, what were these? Why had these all occurred? Because there was decrease of external distraction. All the forms and all the avenues for recreation were shut down. Theaters, cinema halls, fashion malls, bookstores, book outlets, food outlets, all were shut down. And what happened? Increase in internal silence, increase in internal noise, increase in anxiety and health anxiety. Health anxiety, especially for those who are very vigilant, hyper vigilant, and who are very obsessed with health. Oh my God, my head is aching. Is this brain tumor? Oh my God, headache has gone away. Now the anxiety is whether it was a brain tumor or not. It was not a brain tumor, but I am anxiety. I have gone into the vicious cycle. I am anxious. I have gone into the vicious cycle, and I am hyper vigilant. I will be coming to this point later on. Next, in a nutshell, our autobiography. We are generally very uncomfortable with our silence. We need distraction. One would even fidget with his or her mobile for a microsecond. We do not like to hear something different which could actually be very true. We are mostly not happy with what is there inside. We find it very difficult to reconcile with ourselves. নিজের সঙ্গে যতদিন না আমরা সহবাস করতে শিখব ততদিন অ্যাংজাইটি আমাদের পীড়া দিয়ে যাবে। নিজের সঙ্গে সহবাস করতে শিখতে হবে। We are not actualized with the real life. Psychological reasons for anxiety. Number 1, existential fear. Existential fear আগেও ছিল, এখনো আছে, ভবিষ্যতেও থাকবে after the pandemic goes away. Existential fear is quite prominent. If everything is life is not sure, not certain, the only one thing which is and is there. So it is not the reason, the pandemic is not the reason of existential fear. Something which always haunted us, is haunting us, will haunt us. It was not because of the pandemic. Accidental deaths always occurred. They occur. For example, women dying of labor, sudden heart attack, and so on. We started becoming hyper vigilant. Our body entered the vicious cycle. Oh my God, my head is aching. I'm sweating. And the moment we start sweating, we start finding we texting on the Google, and the Google says that yes, if you are sweating, that is the precursor to heart attack. Oh my God, heart attack. Whom should I go to? No doctor, no respite. Whom should I go to for help? Shall I die? Will I die? So now we are going into the vicious cycle. These should be stopped. Next, apprehensive mourning. আমার বাবা যদি চলে যান, আমার মা যদি চলে যান, আমার ছেলে যদি চলে যায়, আমার মেয়ে যদি চলে যায়, আমার কি হবে? Apprehensive mourning. কারোর কিচ্ছু হয়নি. Nothing has happened to my father, my parents, my children, my life mates. All are well. Nothing has happened to them. But apprehensive. I'm apprehending. Apprehensive mourning. Next, it's okay to be not okay. Or it's okay to not to be okay. So far and so forth, the things I have discussed are all absolutely normal, because the surroundings are not in the normal position or in the normal state right now, right? So it is absolutely normal and absolutely not at all abnormal to be not to be okay right now. We need not be self-judgmental. We say that people are judgmental about us. No, we ourselves are self-judgmental. Man is not impeccable, rather fallible, but man does not accept it. He thinks he is impeccable but not fallible. But the reality says that man is not impeccable but he is fallible. We tend to be jealous, guilty, selfish. We tend to be overreactive. That's quite normal. Death is something to be feared unless and until we are delusional. মৃত্যু তো একদিন আসবেই, জব করতে বসলাম। No, this won't happen. We are not delusional. We are in the normal position and we will fear death. New normal. It is not at all normal. I personally feel it not to be new normal because new is a good adjective where I'm trying to exaggerate something. It was not normal, so how can I call it new normal? It is not at all normal that we are going through for the past 2 years. Please mute yourselves. Natural disasters like Amphan had also attacked us and had played havoc. Only once for those who have survived this rage, history would pay its debt. Next, personal strategies. We should and must stop labeling ourselves. আমি তো পাগল হয়ে গেছি। হ্যাঁ, আমি নীললোহিতের ছোট গল্প পড়ে ওনার গল্পের প্রেমে পাগল হয়ে গেছি হতে পারে, কিন্তু I have got lunatic. No, going lunatic is not so easy. People cannot go lunatic so easily. It's quite natural to be depressed and not elated at such a time. We need to be gentle to ourselves. We need to understand the body-mind dynamism. Body and mind are two different entities, but they walk hand in hand. We need to stop assuming, for example, a headache could be a simple one. It may not be the cause of the brain tumor. Life has its own plans. Thus, we need to think about near future, not far future. I'm pursuing a course. After that, I will crack my net. After that, I will get a good job. Hold on, one by one. You're pursuing a course, end the course. Then think about cracking net, one by one. Next, ambiguity tolerance. We always want a clear-cut answer from life and can't accept vagueness. This gives rise to anxiousness and anxiety and internal violence and all stuff. We always want a clear-cut answer. He has asked me to wait for him and he had promised to meet me at 4:30 p.m. but he did not come. I waited for 2 more hours for him. Unscrupulous, irresponsible, right? Do not use these heavy terms. Maybe he had some demise at home. Maybe it was certain reasons were there why he could not meet you. Life does not ever give clear-cut answers. Life is unpredictable. Probably we have been emotionally vaccinated also. So this was the vaccination which I had talked about earlier at the beginning, known as emotional vaccination. যে অর্থে আমাদের ধৈর্যের বাঁধ ভেঙে যেত at the beginning prior to the pandemic, এখন হয়তো এত তাড়াতাড়ি আমাদের ধৈর্যের বাঁধ ভেঙে যায় না. We were emotionally vaccinated. Next, frustration tolerance and discomfort tolerance. We flare up whenever one cannot keep his promises. We need to make tentative plans as life is uncertain. Yes, this I had discussed a bit a couple of minutes ago. We need to make tentative plans as life is uncertain. করবই না, এটা যদি সম্ভব হয় তাহলে করব. We should make tentative plans, not certain plans. Next, personal strategies, media authentication. Media displays the whole platter in front of us. We are to choose which news we will pay heed to. We should not be biased though. For example, media displays news about both deaths and recovery from COVID. আমি শুধু দেখছি মৃত্যু না. People are recovering. They are going back home. I should pay heed to that news also. We should not stay vigilant with the negative news only. Next, For meaningful engagements, we need to find a purpose, a goal, a meaning apart from our regular chores. Some self-fulfilling activities for which I won't need the aid of others for my own gratification. For example, a cup of cold coffee and YouTube. I won't be bothering anybody at that time, and neither I would want anybody else to bother me at that time. Next, personal strategies. Community support system. We need to enlarge the periphery, the hemisphere, and our social connections. I would need to increase the horizon of relations or need to be more sociable, as I won't be approaching the same person for a headache whom I would consult for tax related problems. If I run to the same person for all problems, my Netflix, my tax, my toothache, my headache, if I always approach the same person, the person will get frustrated with me. So I need to go to different people. Maybe the person I would have a cup of tea with will not be the person I share my business problems with. So I need to increase the hemisphere and the periphery of my social connections. We shall overcome, we will overcome definitely, and we are looking forward to that day. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Urbee. You can stop sharing. And you can make me host so that I can share my original screen. Thank you, Urbee, for your nice presentation, nice and brief presentation. And in this slide, you have covered the psychosocial approach and not to fear COVID and how to live in this COVID situation. You have explained nicely, and I think the participants are very much beneficial by your speech today. And now I like to invite questions that the participants, you may ask 1 or 2 questions to Urbee ma'am.
Urbee, Dutta ma'am, you have presented it so well, ma'am. Ma'am, it's a nice presentation. Thank you, ma'am, for giving this presentation in front of us. Thank you so much for that, ma'am. You have done a great job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. If any, many of the new interns has also joined, if anybody asks to anything regarding this topic, you can ask. Because within some minutes, the meeting will end. Bhavita, you are here. If you want to say something, you can. Bhavita, are you here? Bhavita?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you want to ask something regarding this topic?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, yeah. Or anybody, if they want to ask, they can. Okay, I think nobody. Overtake to you, Tanupriya ma'am.
I just some queries. Urbee ma'am, you will define the topic of anxiety, right, ma'am? So can you explain it more in other way, when we have faced anxiety, that time how to overcome of it?
Would you please enable me to share my screen so that I can elucidate that, if it's possible.
Shyamasree ma'am, please complete
Yes, Urbee ma'am is host now.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, so I would be going back to the slide where I had pictorially presented what anxiety is all about. Anxiety is nothing negative in our anxiety is nothing negative in our life. It's positive. Actually, something that helps us lead a balanced life. It facilitates survival. Even I was having anxiety prior to this presentation today morning. But that anxiety probably had made me successful at presenting this presentation nicely in front of the audience. So what is actually anxiety? Human beings always, they have two options to respond to the anxiety, which is a stimulus. Human beings always have either to fight or to flight. That is up to human beings, whether they would fight or whether they would go for flight. Now, for example, the example which I had given about the examinee coming to the exam center for the exam and finds all the questions are unknown to him. For him, he could quit the exam and he could go back sobbing at home. He could over dramatize and faint. At the same time, he could give some general commonsensical answers to make the examiner know that yes, I have a commonsensical knowledge, but I do not know the definition by who or pro and pro. I do not remember it right now. But in case of this particular picture which I have represented, that if it's a lion charging you, or if it's a ferocious animal charging you, then probably it won't be possible for the man to turn back and pierce the arrow into the lion, or to shoot the lion. I wouldn't be able to. My gun would melt, right? So human beings, since they are social animals, they always have the two options, either to choose fight or to choose flight. I think I have been able to answer your question.
That's so thank you so much, ma'am. And I have queries and I have confusion of it, how to fight and how to fly. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
And if there is no question, we will stop our meeting. Okay, Tanupriya ma'am, should we give a vote of thanks because no questions are coming right now?
Yes, yes, ma'am. I request Shreyasi ma'am, please proceed for the vote of thanks and conclude the session. Shreyasi ma'am, are you there, ma'am?
Yes, I am there. Actually, I am not feeling well for some time, so that's why I've just switch off my camera for some time. Sorry for that. আজকে আমি বাঙালিতেই দেবো, কারণ আমি নিজেও বাঙালি, তো থ্যাঙ্কসটা আমি বাঙালিতেই শেষ করতে চাইবো। ম্যাম যে প্রেজেন্টেশনটা দিয়েছে, ইটস লাইক কমেন্টেবল। আর ম্যাম অ্যাংজাইটি ব্যাপারটা ম্যাম আবার ভালো করে এক্সপ্রেস করেছে উর্বী দত্তা ম্যাম। এমনি থেকে ম্যাম আমি অনেক মানে ভোকাবুলারি যেটা বলতে পারি, আমি আরো অনেক ওয়ার্ড কালেকশন করতে খুব ভালোবাসি, তো আমি ওয়ার্ড কালেকশনও করেছি অনেক কটা। সরি উর্বী ম্যাম, আমি ওয়ার্ড কালেকশন অনেক কটা করেছি বসে বসে। ওকে ম্যাম। অ্যান্ড আদার দ্য থিং ইজ যে আমাদের যে আজকে যে MGNCRE তরফ থেকে আপনারা যে MGNCRE ইন ফ্রন্টে এত বড় যে একটা প্রেজেন্টেশন যে তুলে ধরেছেন, এটাই অনেক। আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি আমি টিম অফ MGNCRE। স্পেশাল থ্যাঙ্কস টু Dr.Shyamasree ম্যাম, এত একটা বড় চান্স দেওয়ার জন্য, এগেইন যে আমাদেরকে চান্স দেওয়ার জন্য যে আমরা যেন আবার এমন একটা মিটিং করতে পারি রিগার্ডিং দিস মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যান্ড সাইকোসোশ্যাল সাপোর্ট টপিক। অ্যান্ড এটার ব্যাপারে ডিসকাশন করার অনেকই দরকার, বিকজ ইটস এ ভাস্ট ডাইনামিক টপিক which needed to be discussed so that we can urge to people to help others or also reach to our solutions, new solutions, so that new solutions can emerge regarding this topic. Like ma'am has talked about the various types of anxiety, the feelings through which we generally suffer through these situations, how to handle those situations. Like many days back, Shyamasree ma'am has also presented in that she has also talked with the real life facts, that how can we deal with all this situation. by not feeling depressed, because in this situation it's common that everyone somewhere is feeling depressed. So how to deal with it, how to know yourself more better, how to use this time to know yourself more better, that what you can do, what further you can do, how to use this time is the best time to experience ourselves, that what we can do. I think everyone will resonate with my point of view. So, like this, I would like to end today's topic. And on behalf of MGNCRE, I would also like to thanks everyone, also the new interns who have joined. Might be they have not understood some of the languages because it's in Bengali, but I have nothing to do. After all, we belongs to Bengal and we have to speak Bengali. I have nothing to do. Sorry from my side. And if you have any problem, you can message me and Tanupriya ma'am. And Tanupriya ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much. And I would like to congratulations, Namaste ma'am, that you have organized so well the workshop and also the presentation from side of Urbee Dutta ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. You have
Thank you.
nicely present the whole situation and the common things that we have faced. Thank you so much. I'd like to request Shyamasree ma'am to conclude this session with the of a few words. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Tanupriya, Chandra ma'am and Shreyasi ma'am for conducting such beautiful workshops throughout Bengal for such psychosocial support for the participants, those who are participating in these workshops. And this is very useful workshop which are taken by this central government project. And lastly, I want to, there is an announcement that next 13th July, we are going to organize another workshop by this team only. And our participants, one of the participants, Shatarupa Kushari, is there only. She is going to present her topic. So all the participants who are watching today, they are requested to join her presentation on 13th July, and flyer will be distributed through the WhatsApp groups and Facebooks. So we will expect that you must join to the next program. And tomorrow we have program at Adamas University. Dr. Pratita Vishas ma'am is there. She is going to organize this program. So they are also requested to join tomorrow's program also. So thank you all, because without participants, the program cannot be a successful. So there are many participants, and hopefully more participants will join in our future programs. So thank you all, and thanks to the team again, and thanks to the speaker Urbee. She has
Thank you,
presented
ma'am.
nicely. Thank you, and with all others' permission, I am going to end my meeting. And very soon, YouTube live will be available to you, and you can watch later also. So,
Thank you, ma'am.
all others' permission, I am ending this session. Stay well, stay safe.